The Spectre, the mastermind behind all the Forsaken rounds, the one who brought people in the realm they took control over to feast on their negativity on a daily basis. One who subjects fear to the players in an endless loop of constant suffering. Something you shouldn't mess with if you're looking for a fight indeed. If you'd think of an enemy the Spectre would face, it would be something overly powerful. Maybe even something it despises the most. We don't know who it has beef with, but one thing we can say for sure. It hates this!
Fall back, soldiers! There's too many of them! No! Go to hell!
That's right, everybody. As you can see by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about our favorite guest from our childhood show, Guest 1337. But it will be based on the Forsaken verse, if that makes sense. But me, along with the help of my partner, will be talking about this theory on how guests may be an important role in the Forsaken realm. Now, it seems to be a little far-fetched, since you may think, how can guests be that much of an important character? Well, I'm here to discuss how so. I've got a list with evidence to back up our theory, and we will be addressing the gaps of... I hate that I sound like I'm doing a research defense. Okay, moving on. I would first like to explain what the Spectre is as support evidence on the guest theory. So, as we know, the Spectre is basically this figure, or rather code, that made the rounds for the survivors and killers to feast on their negative emotions and other strong feelings. Let's say it's the same as the entity from Dead by Daylight. We are pretty much unsure on what it looks like, why it's bringing random characters inside the realm, or how they bring these people into the realm. Which is something that is very much weird because every survivor and killer being forsaken into the realm are all different stories. There is no particular rule as to how the Spectre can bring someone into the realm of Forsaken. But one thing that we can hypothesize is how some characters have similar stories as to what happened before the Forsaken events. So we can break this down into 3 categories. 1 is by betrayal, 2 is by getting into a state of strong negative emotions, and 3 is doing something so absurd that they are sent into the realm as punishment to atone for their sins. Okay, so here's the explanation for each. For betrayal is where characters have experienced a sort of betrayal from a person they trusted before being forsaken, which I can say includes Chance, Azur, and Guest 666 due to their affiliations with friends and loved ones. For negative emotions is quite self-explanatory. Each character feels a certain emotion of regret, hatred, vengeance, anxiety or fear, and much more negative emotions. Finally, for punishment is where characters are sent into the realm due to their past deeds, whether it's someone they killed, something they have done due to being blinded by naivety, or creating something they created that they have yet to regret soon. One thing that I would like to mention in this criteria is that somehow, to being forsaken, you need to have a sort of connection or relation with the character. Think about it for a moment. How is it that everyone in this realm knows each other from somewhere before, yet Guest seems to be the only one here who has no connections at all? I made a chart to see or show clearly who's connected with who. Alright, so as you can see here, this is the chart I made on Ibis Paint. So blue here will represent that person A and person B are close. Red signifies that person A and person B are either in a friendship, relationship, and etc. Yellow is where they had a slight interaction in the past. And black is where they have possibly interacted in the past. So let's start with Chance and iTrap. So of course, as we know, they are quote-unquote friends in the past. Azur and Two Time are partners. 1x is Shadletsky's manifestation of hatred, so that basically makes them related. John Doe and Jane Doe are husband and wife. Of course, we have 007 and Cool Kid, which is father and son. And lastly, we have Noob and Guest 666, who were friends in the past. Okay, so now for the close section. we got the two admins, Dusekar and Chidletsky. Therefore, it makes them associated with Builderman, of course. Then we have Taff, who is a demolitionist for Builderman when taking down houses of terminated users. And lastly, we got 007 and Noli, who were best friends and hacking buddies in the past. Now we go on the yellow section where two people had a slight interaction in the past. First, we got Cool Kid, who used exploits at the pizza place where Elliot worked at. This is just a theory, but I think the reason that Cool Kid was missing and also got forsaken in the first place was because of Builderman, who terminated him. For Guest 666, I'm pretty sure they got banned by Builderman. For Eye Trapped, I believe they got terminated by Builderman. And this is just a theory again. I think that Dusekar could have some relations with Two Time and Azur. I'm not talking about them knowing each other. I am referring about Dusekar's knowledge about respawning and knowing that the spawn cult is a huge hoax. This one is also another theory, which I believe Elliot could have made a report against Cool Kid because of the pizza place fire incident. And another one, which is Builderman, John Doe, and Jane Doe, which they could possibly be associated with Builderman since these two are test accounts that he made. And what do we get from this? You guessed it. Now what's more interesting is that Guest doesn't seem to fit in these categories we have theorized. One thing he may fit the category on is when he felt his regrets of leaving his family to fend for themselves to fight against the Bacon War. But was that really the case? Remember, Guest made a sacrifice to fight the Bacons face to face with fists and eventually used the grenade as the final blow. This was no ordinary event where Guest experienced extreme negativity. This was an act of determination and hope to save everyone. So, what do we get from this? What makes Guest so special? And why was he even forsaken in the first place by the Spectre? Now, let's take a look at what the Spectre thinks of Guest. When Guest got forsaken, his motives and goals in the realm was to protect everyone just like in the series. He doesn't back down no matter what and helps the team as much as he can, even if it means getting his hands dirty. But what's interesting is how he is the only person among the survivors who doesn't fear any of the killers. Because of this, the Spectre dislikes, maybe even hates, Guest, since its motive is to literally feast upon everyone's negative emotions. It's to the point that the Spectre nerfed him to not have any items unlike other survivors. Yet for some reason, Guest manages to pull through despite these circumstances. He's most likely the person in the realm to ever not feel strong negative emotions due to this determination. It leaves us with one question though. Is this really the only thing the Spectre hates about Guest? Or is there something else that bothers it from its goals? Or could it possibly be that Guest 1337 was forsaken by accident? Let's rewind a bit and look at what the Spectre is. The Spectre is a code wanting power. On a programmer's perspective, codes are perfectly imperfect, where it's practically impossible to create a perfect code. Not every code is perfect and thoroughly polished. There can be some gaps in its program. These small little gaps can lead into an error that disrupts the entirety itself. With that small gap, what if something, or rather someone, had slipped through, ignoring all the rules we had just discussed? What if something managed to pass through the criteria needed? Maybe this is something the Spectre can't fully control. Because remember, the Spectre isn't entirely powerful on everything in this realm, given that it is a code with flaws. And that being Guest, who is the man who managed to slip through the cracks of flaws the code had, is this possibly something that the Spectre also dislikes about Guest? In fact, we can take our gap from point 2 with Guest's sacrifice as something the code mistook as something deeper, therefore bringing him into the realm. So what do we get from this? What happens now that we have this many theories about Guest's existence in the realm? Who knows? Maybe Guest has the answer all along that he and everyone is unaware of. Okay, honestly y'all, I have no clue what to do on this end. I've got some theories here and there. Guest could be the key on the way out of this realm. The Spectre is not all that powerful. The Spectre doesn't know a way out just as the rest of the Forsaken people. Is lava wet? Just too much to put on the table for me to talk about. As much as I'd love to talk about this, I do have a feeling this yapping session is probably taking too long, so I think I'll leave it to this. Let me know anything about your thoughts in this theory. After all, I know well these have some flaws, of course. Just don't attack anyone for their theories and such. This is just a theory after all. Well, if you guys want more, don't get your hopes up. I'm just a lazy artist wanting to get this theory out there, you know?